welcome back to Full House 7th edition where we are playing Vanheim. It is turn 25. No major battles this turn, hopefully. None that we've planned anyway. We finished research in Conjuration 4, headed to 5 for those full-sized air elementals. Let's see, we have a throne claim here. Not actually sure who this is. And then, let's see. This must be this is also a throne claim, and this is Agartha. So they've managed to grab the throne of air, which is pretty nice, because I don't think they normally have a lot of air. We'll have to take a look and see which throne it is that they've managed to grab, or rather where the throne of air is on the map. We do find a magic site. That's good news. Tar pits. I believe that's some fire gems, which is good. We, don't have a lot of fire income, so we are looking for, other gem types. Not that we would mind more earth gems. Actually, both of our site searches were successful. Okay, well, not exactly successful. So Brigand Lair, we can recruit brigands now, hooray! But otherwise, just generates unrest in the location. No gems, so that is sad. And then we have Kaelasa coming into Vulture, and then we bump with them. So that should be interesting. It's just their bull. This is actually bad. And I was thinking that, there's a possibility that Kaelasa comes in and Vultures, and we're probably going to lose our group. And I did say that Kaelasa doesn't really have anything that we can't deal with, and I do think that's true. But this is the most dangerous thing, right? He's got, Moss Body on him, although, his protection isn't that high, although it probably will, he has enough Earth Pathing. It will be high. And then, he's getting quickness put on him, although I think she put quickness on herself. Nope, doesn't look like it. So I must have, I just missed it. This is going to be a real scary bull here. So he's definitely going to roll over this. There's the Iron Skin. But, Iron Skin we actually don't so much mind. Let's see how much. He still manages to have 10 shock resistance. Yeah, he's got some shock resistance gear, 237 hit points. So, this is definitely going to be a scary bull, with the 10% regeneration, and his friend to help him out. But if we bring all of our Vanhears, right, and some great swords of sharpness, I do think we can cut through this guy. And then, air elementals won't be able to trample him, so we can't really press that button. But with our thugs, I do think we can take this guy out. Although I do think we're going to lose our raiding group here, unfortunately. And this will only encourage them to come in against us. Luckily, we don't have a Van Jarl leading it, so that's good news. Probably should do some attack rear. So unfortunately we're attack closest, so we're just going to fight the bull. We can hopefully at least get... no, this is pretty rough. So that is one issue. We don't have a ton of strength. Or rather, we have no strength on the Bless. We're relying on the Berserk to bump us up. And with this level of protection, and he's also gets some protection from his Berserking. And then all the buffs that have been layered onto him, that's not good news for us. So we will definitely need our thugs in order to deal with this bull. So we'll see. Kaelasa might actually just walk at us now. Or they might decide, to try to jump on top of Pangea. So I wasn't expecting him to move in this quickly and to risk their Pretender immediately, but they obviously feel pretty confident. We, have a great sword of sharpness that's just hanging out. We will be forging more great swords of sharpness, and we will probably have to delay our fight against Calum. Which is unfortunate because Calum, may not feel that they need to delay the fight. So, we may not get that luxury. And then let's see, we have a Fomorian King coming out against that army of that is just sitting out on top. And this guy's looking decently scary. He's got some I think this is mostly construction 2, but maybe some construction 4 kit. This is a item that can only be forged by Fomoria. And importantly, does provide some life drain, which will be nice, because otherwise, this guy can't really regain hit points. And he's got fear built in, so not very good morale, though. And I do believe the Mushushu have some fear built in. Yeah, they do. So we'll see. There is a possibility that he'll be able to rout off some of this stuff. And I don't think that there's any magic weapons on this Bless. No, there is not. So there's really no magic weapons at all on this side. So the mist form should help a bit. Wow, that's crazy. The Fomorian King has taken a ton of poison damage despite having a ton of poison resistance, because he's got a poison resistance ring on. So yeah, the poison from these Shushu is just absolutely fierce, and will be relevant, right? Because yeah, he gets a little bit of life drain. Like, oh man, okay. So thugging against Mashushu apparently fairly difficult. That went a lot worse than I was expecting. I did feel that had definitely had a chance, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't even close. So they do manage to kill a Mashushu, but at the price of a fully kitted Fomorian King. Not a good trade. Fomoria is a really good nation, but also I feel like a nation that is somewhat challenging to play. So I've messed around with them a little bit in single player, but certainly don't feel confident enough to take them into a multiplayer game. I think a lot of times they're a bit of a rush target, because some of the stuff that they get becomes much more powerful later on, and so I think people know that it's a strong nation, so they draw a lot of attention early, and that can be difficult to navigate. Although I don't think normally is considered a nation that could easily bully Fomoria, so not really sure what happened there. But maybe I'm not giving those Mashushu enough credit. Certainly they were able to rout that Fomorian King really easily. And then we have Archocephaly either breaking out or returning to their capital. And, they've brought out like just some mundane units. These guys are fine, like perfectly acceptable chaff. And then they've also got, their Wind Riders. A few mages here, probably just for body ethereal spam. Although I don't think that's really going to matter against Kalem, because most of Kalem's, I don't know about most, but the Spirehorn warriors that they recruit a lot of, they have magic weapons built in. So ethereal does not matter in that case. And I think, yeah, these guys also magic weapons. So this is pretty much all magic weapons on this side. But, we have seen before how, these Wind Riders can deal with a lot of birds. But again, like, the leadership is a bit of a problem. There are at least the 2 mages here. Okay, personal luck. That'll help keep them alive. I also heard some air elementals. So that's not going to be great news for Archocephaly. Luckily, the birds decide to jump in immediately, which is kind of good because hopefully the Wind Lord is, deep in this formation somewhere and didn't eat a charge and is going to be safer so that Archocephaly doesn't lose their leadership. So I think this is going to be bloody for both sides. Yeah, it's looking like the numbers of birds is, we don't have the best morale. Yep, there you go. Armies of Kalem are routed. So, Archocephaly doing a great job. This is great news for us. Kalem also a nation that perhaps is a bit challenging to play. I'm not sure what the answer would be for really tough sacreds like that. I guess maybe really doubling down on air elementals. But this is the second major battle that they've lost, and while they have a lot of territory and a lot of forts, I do think that once finishes with Fomoria, and if we can convince Kaelasa, which I don't think we will, in a lot of ways, Kalem is looking very attractive at this point, because I think it's unlikely that Archocephaly is actually going to be able to turn this around, because they don't have the income or the production to really pull it off, but certainly they're making it really painful for Kalem. So Archocephaly does lose a Mystic, which, they're probably kind of down to it in terms of commanders, so that matters a little more than normal. But the big thing is they don't really lose very many Wind Riders, right? That's probably one turn of recruitment, and the Wind Riders are really what matters here. For Kalem, a lot of their stuff does survive, so that's nice, but of course it gets scattered, and they do lose a significant amount of their troops. In fairness, they can pop these guys out pretty quickly, and they are pretty large, so they can absorb these losses, but I'm sure this is not what they want. They at least lose, I was going to say no mages, but that's not true. They actually lose 2 mages, but they're of the very cheap variety, so they can definitely sustain losses like this. But still, this is not good results for Kalem, but it is good news for us. Let's see, an unexpected event. We lose some tax. We are Misfortune 3, so no complaints there. And then, of course, we're under siege from the Independents. We're hoping to clear that out this turn. And then Macone was eliminated. They'd already gone AI. Not really sure what happened there, but they are out. And I will catch you guys after the cut. All right, this is the situation and what we're doing about it. First and foremost, we are forsaking our pretender's name. We are stopping the chop. And this is definitely something that I went back and forth on quite a bit. We've seen how our sacreds have done a lot better than Pangea's in a 1v1 situation. And, Pangea is going to be able to reinforce more quickly than we're going to be able to bring up our reinforcements. While we, do have pretty significant Vanheim numbers coming up, 16 of them.
It's going to take them, another 1, 2, 3, 4 turns before they can hit. So 16 is not 4 turns of White Centaur production. So Pangea is going to get more heavily reinforced than we are. On the other hand, that's not our only reinforcements, so hopefully we'll also be able to bring up whatever survives from this, which not too many Vanheers, but every Vanheer counts. And then also our ogres, which will hopefully survive these barbarians. Not super thrilled about this battle. I do think it's going to be a bit on the painful side, but we'll see. We do really need this fort unlocked for a lot of reasons. And then the other thing, so I mean, maybe we could beat Pangea. I do expect there to be a province defense dump here, and Maniads are decently fast and have forest survival, so pretty much everything that's in this fort is going to be able to move into Pangea, so I'm expecting them to go all out, right, in a defense of the capital, and I'm not sure we could win that, right? Like, I mean, that's a lot of additional units for our Vanheers to cut through. And fatigue definitely can become a problem for the Vanheers. So could we win it? Maybe. Would it be painful? Probably, which brings us to the other thing. Speaking of painful, right? We just lost, 10 of our Vanheers here? Yeah, so we just, took some serious losses here, and I kind of want to see what Kalos is going to do, right? This was a bump. We know that they're interested in attacking us if, we're to believe Agartha, and I have no reason to disbelieve them. I was kind of already thinking that we might have to fight Kalasa. It makes sense in a lot of ways. Also, it sort of feels like possibly these two players are just kind of working together in general, since I was surprised that they didn't come to blows, over the result of the previous war, Lanka. On the other hand, Kalasa just took this territory, so they might not want to jump in immediately against us. They might be hoping, maybe they aren't working with Pangea, and maybe they're waiting for a major battle between Pangea and myself before they actually fully commit. Or maybe they're just going to take their pretender and move right on in. So I do kind of want to see how quickly Kalasa is going to come at us. Before actually committing to Pangea. On the other hand, I don't think this army can stop this bull, which is a little sad. That is one of the issues, with splitting the Vanheer Bless. The resistances are not going to help us at all in this kind of situation. So again, that's maybe an argument to attack, because it's like, well, even if we hold this army back, it can't really do anything against this bull. On the other hand, maybe we don't finish off Pangea right away. I don't know. I hate saying that. Yeah, that sounds very painful now that I say it out loud. Well, we might be forced into that, right? Because if Kalasa attacks us as well, right? With Pangea down to their capital, this is going to be a very painful attack. There's just no two ways around that. Whereas for Kalasa, they're a lot more spread out and a lot more vulnerable. We do see that there's a major force down here, but yeah, light Bandar archers, Bandar swordsmen, we're not as worried about that. I mean, the swordsmen maybe a bit more, but the archers, we're about to have a lot of answers to arrow fire. So, that's not going to be so much of a problem, even though I do think that light Bandar archers, are a good unit. I don't necessarily think that's a bad choice for recruitment. It's just not going to stack up super well with the kind of magic that we're going to be bringing to the table. Now, they probably have other stuff, we do see, some sacreds collecting here. But they have a lot more territory and are going to be a lot more open to raiding and things like that. And if we have this army available, we can threaten some of their forts and prevent them from sending the bull super deep. But we will need to be careful, all right, about not engaging the bull with the army. In fact, honestly, if the bull moves here, we'll probably just attack Pangea. The other thing too is that players, as much as I hate sitting around, other players hate sitting around as well. So it's fairly unlikely, I think, that Pangea is going to just sit on their capital and patrol twice. Then again, if they're working with Kalasa, right, maybe they'll expect the bull to come in and destroy our army. So I don't know. We'll have to see, depending on what Kalasa does. But of course, if the bull does come in, it's not like we don't have a game plan. We are forging 2 more great swords of sharpness this turn. Yeah, I think that's it, unfortunately. We actually don't have a ton of carriers down here, right? We just don't have a ton of commanders. So 3 is really all we can support. We are moving another Vanhurst down there, to be another sword carrier. We'll probably also throw on, some girdles of might. Because that bull is going to be really tough to cut down, and I think 3 great swords is not going to be enough. Next turn, we'll probably forge even more. Probably should have forged some more this turn, but like I said, we don't really have the carriers Our research, it's going to take a hit. It's already taking a hit. It's not in a great place. We are aiming for that Conjuration 5, which we've talked research. That hasn't really changed, but we're probably going to not abandon research, but kind of abandon research in the short term here. If Kael'thasa attacks us pretty strongly, we're just probably going to switch everyone over to forging, use up the majority of our gem stocks, and then send out like as many Vanherses as we can equip, both as greatsword carriers. I feel like six would be a good number, with greatswords and girdles of might. And in the long term, we really don't. We're not there yet, but Van Jarls would be nice once we get Cloud Trapeze, because then we can guarantee a battle more or less of our choosing with only the bull. Because it is really important. We don't want our Vanherses fighting with the bull, but we also don't want the bull fighting with, an army of Kael'thasa to then run into our counter thugs alone. We really want the bull alone with all of our greatsword carriers, and that might be difficult to engineer depending on how aggressive Kael'thasa is. The fact that they led with their god is an encouraging sign, and considering that they just rolled over a group of our sacreds, I feel like they might become overconfident. I'm hoping they become overconfident and just push the bull in on his lonesome, and then we'll be able to destroy it with normal phase movement, probably. So our research may change to try to get us that Cloud Trapeze, because if we abandon our research, we're probably not going to be able to hit air elementals before things become critical anyway, the full-sized air elementals. Also, for full-sized air elementals isn't really going to help us all that much against the bull. It will help, in an army v army engagement, which we are interested in, but, we've talked about how we don't have a ton of Vanherses yet anyway, so, getting a bunch of air elementals, we're not quite there yet. We still have not found Kael'thasa's southern neighbor, or actually their western neighbor either. So we may actually just, I don't know if I want to go to I generally don't go to the general chat, because then, people obviously know if you're like, hey, who's Kael'thasa's neighbor? It's pretty obvious what you're thinking. But then again, if Kael'thasa's already attacking us deep into our territory, obviously we're interested in fighting them. There's no secret there anyway. But I would prefer to make contact secretly. And then, of course, we know that Qian-Chi is going to be pretty busy. We see a Sarmatian flag on top of Abyssia. This is no surprise. We are moving a scout in, to take a look, partially because we just see there's a Kami of the Sun, which is a less common pretender. So that's cool. Hope to see them in action. And, we just like to see what our neighbors are up to. I guess they aren't our neighbors yet, but, they will be. And then I'm very sad about the Kalem situation. This war looks like it's going a lot better for Archocephaly, and if we were actually able to come in, we might be able to save Archocephaly. Not that we particularly want to fight, Wind Riders. We're not especially thrilled about that. But they probably would provide at least a very grateful ally, and there would be plenty of gains for us to grab. Lots of infrastructure, a capital right here. We would have to fight a ton of birds, but I do think we stack up decently well against that. Once they get mass air elementals, that's going to be pretty rough, and considering we're not too far off from that, and Kalem has been doing a lot better and probably has much better research simply because they have more mages. They probably, in fact, I think they've summoned some in some battles now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway, if they don't have them already, it's going to be very close. That will make fighting them in an army engagement a lot harder, but there's there's nothing we can do about that. We're just going to have to sit on that. And we haven't really caught too much else. We're going to hop on top of Ermor's capital next turn just to, see what's going on there. But our scouting is still somewhat limited. Obviously, gold-wise, we're not in a super happy place. We're going for another dwarf. I think I did have another Vanherse queued up, Vanadrot queued up, but we just, we're not there yet. We want as many of those guys as possible, but we don't have the money. So instead, we're going to get another Van Jarl, which, are also expensive, and we also really do want a lot more of those. So we're probably just going to focus on dwarves and Van Jarls for the short term. But we do want to switch our capital to Vanadrots as soon as we can manage it. It's just they are pretty expensive. They're a little over a temple apiece. So I think that more or less covers turn 25.